My brother said no one would ever date me, so he cried when I got engaged before him. Growing up, Julian was the golden one, the charming one, the one who walked into a room and made everyone else feel like furniture. Mom used to ruffle my hair and say, "At least you're the reliable one, buddy." Like being reliable was some participation trophy for not being loved the way he was. Julian dated constantly. Head cheerleaders, the coach's daughter, girls who looked like they'd wandered off a magazine cover. He'd bring them to Sunday dinner just to watch me go quiet. "Maybe you could introduce your brother to one of them," Mom would say hopefully. Julian would laugh, that easy laugh that never cost him anything. "They've got standards, Mom." By the time I turned 26, I'd mostly stopped coming to family dinners. Julian was on girlfriend number 3 that year, each one supposedly the one. Meanwhile, I was building my career as a civil engineer, traveling for jobs, actually living. Then I met Nora at a construction site in Denver. She was the project manager, sharp and steady, with this quiet certainty that made a room full of loud men shut up and listen when she spoke. We started with coffee breaks, then dinners, then everything else. 6 months in, she proposed. She got down on one knee on a job site at sunrise, hard hat still on, and asked me to marry her. Simple, perfect, exactly us. I called my parents to share the news. Silence. Then Mom said, "Are you sure she's serious? Women don't usually..." She trailed off, but I heard it loud and clear. "Women don't usually choose you." I hung up. Julian called 10 minutes later. "Congratulations," he said, his voice tight. "I'm really happy for you." He wasn't. I could hear him crying after he thought he'd muted the phone. At our engagement party, Julian showed up with Camille, his latest. Halfway through the evening, he tapped his glass with a fork, cleared his throat, and announced he had news of his own. Then he got down on one knee in the middle of my engagement party and proposed to Camille. The whole room turned. My night became his night in the span of 10 seconds. He kept his arm around her the rest of the night, laughing too loudly, making sure everyone saw how perfect they were. But I noticed how Camille kept checking her phone, how she barely looked at him. Mom pulled me aside. "Don't make a big fuss about the wedding," she whispered. "Your brother's having a hard time with all this." I just stared at her. My own mother, asking me to shrink my happiness because Julian couldn't stand not being the center of the room. 2 weeks before my wedding, Julian called at 2 a.m. "I need to tell you something," he sobbed. Camille had cheated. They'd broken up. "I just thought," he said, "maybe we could push your wedding back. Just a month or two until I feel like myself again." I laughed. Actually laughed. No. He showed up at my wedding anyway, red-eyed and dramatic. During the reception, he cornered Nora near the bar. I watched from across the room as he leaned in close, his hand on her arm. My cousin Tessa appeared beside me. "He's telling her you've always been jealous of him," Tessa whispered, "that you're only marrying her to prove you can." Nora's face went still. She stepped back, said something short, and walked away. Julian stood there looking stunned. When Nora reached me, she kissed my jaw and said, "Your brother just tried to convince me you're marrying me out of spite." She smiled. "I told him that was impossible, because spite doesn't look at someone the way you look at me." We left early for our honeymoon. 3 days into our trip in Greece, my phone exploded with notifications. Julian had posted on social media that he was engaged to Camille, the same Camille who'd cheated. He'd taken her back and she'd said yes, apparently the same week as my wedding. The announcement was all soft focus photos and captions about second chances and finding your person. I showed Nora. "Should we send congratulations?" she asked. "No," I said. "Something's off." I was right. 2 days later, Tessa sent me a screenshot. A man had commented on Julian's post. "She's still married to me. Our divorce won't be final for 6 months." I sat on our hotel balcony, the Aegean stretching out flat and blue in front of me, and felt the ground shift. Julian had been so desperate to one-up me that he'd gotten engaged to a married woman, but it got worse. When I got home and finally opened my personal email, there was a message from someone named Marcus. "I don't know if you know this," it read, "but your brother Julian has been messaging Nora, your wife now, I guess, since before your engagement." My hands went cold. The email continued. Marcus was Nora's assistant, the one who managed her work calendar and her business phone for scheduling. He'd noticed Julian's messages coming through. "At first they seemed harmless," he wrote, "just asking how you were, saying he wanted to make sure you two were happy. But then they got strange. He started asking personal things about Nora, about her money, about whether she'd been serious with anyone before you." I sat staring at the screen, the cursor blinking. Nora was in the shower, humming a song we'd heard at a taverna the night before. I could hear the water running, could picture her completely unaware that our whole relationship might have been under attack this entire time. He asked her to meet him for coffee, Marcus's email went on. "Said he needed help planning a surprise for you." Nora declined. He asked again and again. "I'm only telling you this because the messages didn't stop after your wedding. The last one came yesterday. He told her she'd made a mistake, that she should have picked him, that you didn't deserve her." I called Marcus immediately. It was 4:09 a.m. in Chicago, but he answered on the second ring. "I figured you'd call," he said. "I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner, but Nora made it clear she wasn't interested, and I didn't want to blow up your engagement over it. But when he messaged again after your wedding, I couldn't sit on it anymore." "Do you have screenshots?" My voice sounded hollow. "All of them. Sending them now." The shower turned off. I had maybe 3 minutes before Nora came out. My email dinged. Marcus had sent a folder with 47 screenshots. I opened the first one. one. Julian. Hey, this is random, but I wanted to reach out. I'm the brother. Just wanted to thank you for making him so happy. That one was dated 2 weeks after Nora and I started dating, before anyone knew we were serious, before I'd even told my family her name. Nora. Thank you. He makes me happy too. Julian. Can I ask you something? I'm planning a surprise for his birthday and I could use your help. Nora. Sure. What did you have in mind? Julian. Can we grab coffee? Easier to explain in person. Nora. I'm slammed this week. Can we just do it over text? There were 15 more messages of Julian trying to set up a meeting, Nora politely declining each time. Then the tone shifted. Julian. I have to be honest with you. I'm worried about my brother. He has a history of moving too fast and getting hurt. I just want to make sure you're serious. Nora. I'm very serious about him. You don't need to worry. Julian. It's just that he's been let down before by people who seemed serious at first. How do I know you're different? Nora. You'll have to trust me. Or better yet, trust your brother to make good decisions. I scrolled faster. The bathroom door opened. I slammed the laptop shut. Nora came out in a towel, hair dripping. Everything okay? She asked, reading my face. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. Did Julian ever message you? Her expression changed. Yeah, he did. Why didn't you tell me? She sat down on the bed beside me. Because it didn't matter. He was clearly trying to cause problems, and I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction. I figured if I ignored him, he'd stop. Did he stop? No. She pushed her wet hair back. It got more intense. He started saying things about you, about your past, trying to make me doubt you. Then he made it about himself, saying he'd made a mistake introducing us. He didn't introduce us. We met on a job site. I know. That's when I realized he was lying about all of it. So I blocked his number. I opened the laptop again and showed her the screenshots, all 47. She scrolled through in silence, her jaw tightening with each one. This one. I pointed to a message sent 3 days before our wedding. This one says he loves you. Julian. I can't stop thinking about you. I know it's wrong. I know the timing is insane, but I think I'm in love with you. I think I have been since the moment we met. Nora. We've never met, Julian, and I'm marrying your brother in 3 days. Don't contact me again. Julian. We did meet at the engagement party. You probably don't remember because you were so focused on him, but I felt something. I know you felt it too. Nora had blocked him after that, but the messages kept coming to her work email, which was listed publicly on the company site. The last one had been sent yesterday. Julian. I know you blocked me. I know you think I'm crazy, but I need you to know he's not who you think he is. He's using you to get back at me for being better looking, more successful, more loved. Our whole lives he's been jealous of me. This is just another way for him to win. Nora closed the laptop. This is insane. This is your brother. We sat in silence. The Greek sun poured through the windows, making everything look unreal. I thought about every interaction with Julian, every time he'd made me feel small, the jokes about my clothes, my job, my luck with women, the way he'd swallowed up our parents' attention my entire life, their pride, their patience, the way Mom had asked me to dim my own wedding so Julian wouldn't feel bad, and now this. He'd tried to take my wife before I'd even married her. What do you want to do? Nora asked quietly. I thought about it. I could confront him, scream at him, show our parents what he'd done, but that's exactly what he wanted. Drama, attention, proof that I cared enough to react. Nothing, I said. We do nothing. We finish our honeymoon, we go home, and we live our lives without him in them. Nora nodded. I like that plan. We stayed in Greece another week. We didn't talk about Julian again. We swam in water so clear it didn't look real, ate grilled fish at tiny tavernas, got lost in white stone streets. It was perfect until we came home. The first sign something was wrong was our front door. It was unlocked. We lived in a secure building with a doorman, and we definitely locked the door when we left. Nora pushed it open slowly. Our apartment had been torn apart. Not robbed, torn apart. Drawers pulled out, contents dumped, couch cushions slashed, wedding photos ripped from their frames and scattered in pieces across the floor. On the bedroom mirror, in thick red marker, someone had written, "You don't deserve her." I called the police. They came, took photos, asked questions. The doorman swore no one had come up to our floor except a maintenance crew, but the building's maintenance company had no record of any scheduled work. There was no sign of forced entry. Whoever did this had a key. Only 3 people had a key to our place. Me, Nora, and my mother. I'd given Mom a spare 6 months earlier, when she'd offered to water our plants while I traveled for work. "Where's the key now?" the officer asked. I called Mom. "Do you still have our apartment key?" "Of course, sweetheart. Why? Can you check right now? Make sure it's still there." I heard her moving around, opening drawers. "It's not in the usual spot. Let me look." 5 minutes later. "I can't find it. When did you need it?" "I'm sure it's around here somewhere." "When did you last see it?" "Mom, when did you last have it?" "Oh, I don't know. A few weeks ago. Julian borrowed it, actually. He said he wanted to drop off your wedding gift while you were on your honeymoon, as a surprise." The officer's pen stopped moving. He looked at me. I gave him Julian's full name and address. They found him at Camille's apartment, the same Camille who was still legally married to someone else. He denied everything at first, said he'd never been to our place, never touched a thing. Then they showed him the footage. The building's security cameras had caught all of it. Julian letting himself in with a key 2 days after our wedding, leaving 3 hours later with 2 large garbage bags, coming back the next day with Camille, the 2 of them carrying out boxes. They'd robbed us. While we were on our honeymoon, celebrating our marriage. My brother and his married girlfriend had broken into our home and stolen our wedding gifts, the cash from the cards, my late grandfather's watch, the one I'd worn on the wedding day, Nora's grandmother's jewelry, Nora's laptop, our passports, even the espresso machine we'd registered for. The police found most of it in a storage unit Julian had rented under a fake name. He'd planned to sell all of it online. Why? The detective asked him. Why would you do this to your own brother? According to the police report, Julian said, because he has everything I want. He always gets everything. Camille was charged with breaking and entering and theft. Julian was charged with theft, vandalism, and criminal trespass. Camille's actual husband filed for divorce and sued both of them for emotional distress. My parents hired Julian the best lawyer they could afford, spent $40,000 on his legal fees, and begged me not to press charges. He's your brother, Mom pleaded. He made a mistake. Family forgives. Family doesn't break into each other's homes. He was going through a hard time. The Camille thing, your wedding, it was all too much for him. So my wedding was too much for him. My happiness was too much for him. You know what I mean. I do. I've always known. Julian's feelings matter. Julian's struggles matter. Julian's jealousy and rage and cruelty matter. And I'm supposed to just accept it, forgive it, make myself smaller so he can feel bigger. That's not fair. You're right. It's not. It's not fair that I had to downplay my own engagement so it wouldn't hurt his feelings. It's not fair that you asked me to postpone my wedding because his girlfriend cheated. It's not fair that you gave him my key without asking me. It's not fair that even now, with police reports and evidence and his own confession, you're asking me to protect him from what he did. Mom started crying. He's my son. So am I. I pressed charges. All of them. Julian took a plea deal, 6 months in county jail, 2 years probation, community service, and a restraining order that barred him from contacting Nora or me for 5 years. My father didn't speak to me for a year, said I'd destroyed the family, turned my back on my own blood, chosen a woman over my brother. Mom called sometimes, always with the same speech about forgiveness and moving forward and how families work through hard things. I changed the locks, all of them, installed a security system, started therapy. Nora and I bought a house in a different neighborhood. We didn't give my parents the address. We had a small housewarming. Our friends came. Nora's family came. Tessa came, the only member of my family I invited. I'm proud of you, she said, standing in our new kitchen, for setting boundaries, for protecting yourself. Mom thinks I'm cruel. Your mom has spent 30 years excusing Julian's worst behavior. Of course she thinks accountability is cruelty. Life moved on. Nora got promoted to senior project manager. I got offered lead engineer on a major infrastructure project in Seattle. We celebrated our first anniversary, then our second. Julian got out of jail after 4 months for good behavior. Mom sent me a text. He's changed. He wants to apologize. I didn't respond. 3 weeks later, Julian showed up at Nora's office. Her assistant called me immediately. Your brother's here. Security's with him. He's demanding to see her. Tell security to enforce the restraining order. They walked him out. He screamed the whole way, loud enough that people on other floors heard. He called Nora a homewrecker, called me a coward, said we'd both regret turning our backs on family. The police arrested him for violating the order. Another court date. Another round of Mom begging me to drop it. Another round of Dad not speaking to me. I sat in the courtroom and watched Julian cry. He wore a crisp button-down, hair combed neat, the perfect picture of a reformed man who'd made a few mistakes. His lawyer argued he'd only wanted to apologize, to make amends, that he was overwhelmed with remorse. The judge reviewed his previous charges, the theft, the vandalism, the stalking messages, the violation of the order that security footage had captured at Nora's office. Mr. Peterson, he said, this court gave you an opportunity to prove you could respect boundaries. You violated those boundaries repeatedly. I'm extending your restraining order to 10 years and adding another 6 months of jail time. Julian's face crumpled. He looked at our parents in the gallery. Dad's face was stone. Mom was crying. Then Julian looked at me. I hate you, he mouthed. I didn't react. I just watched the bailiff lead him away. Outside the courtroom, my parents cornered me. Happy now? Dad asked. Your brother's life is ruined. He ruined his own life. You could have stopped this. You could have shown mercy. I did show mercy. I didn't sue him for emotional distress. I didn't go to the media. I didn't call his employer and tell them what he did. I just asked him to leave us alone. He couldn't even do that. He's sick, Mom said. He needs help, not jail. I agree. He does need help. Maybe this will finally make him get it. They left without saying goodbye. I stood on the courthouse steps, the spring sun warm on my face. Nora appeared beside me and slipped her hand into mine. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. I really am. We went out for dinner that night, a little Italian place near our house, the kind with checkered tablecloths and candles jammed into wine bottles. We ordered too much food and split a bottle of red. We talked about everything except my family, her new project, my trip to Seattle, the vacation we were planning to Iceland. When we got home, there was a letter taped to our front door. No envelope, just a single sheet folded in half. I recognized Julian's handwriting immediately. Nora reached for it, but I stopped her. Let me. The letter was short. I've spent my whole life being better than you at everything. Better looking, more popular, more loved, and somehow I still ended up here, in a cell, alone, while you got the career, the wife, the perfect life. I don't don't understand how this happened, how you won, but you did, and I hate you for it. I hope you know that. I hope it keeps you up at night knowing your own brother hates you, because that's all I have left, my hate, and I'm going to hold on to it forever. I read it twice, then I handed it to Nora. She read it in silence. When she finished, she said, "What do you want to do with this?" I could have kept it, added it to the legal file as more evidence of harassment, shown it to my parents as proof of his continued malice, framed it as a reminder of everything I'd survived. Instead, I walked to the fireplace, struck a match, held the paper to the flame, and watched it curl and blacken and turn to ash. "There," I said. "Now he's really gone." The restraining order meant Julian couldn't attend family events if Nora or I were there. Thanksgiving came. Mom called. "We're having dinner at the house. I'd love for you to come." "Will Julian be there?" "He's my son. Of course he'll be here." "Then I won't." "This is getting ridiculous. It's been almost 3 years. Can't you two just be in the same room for a few hours?" "No. Your father misses you. He knows where I live. He's not going to choose between his sons. He already did. He chose Julian, like he always has." Mom went quiet for a long time. "You've changed. You used to be so easygoing, so understanding. I used to be a doormat. There's a difference." I spent Thanksgiving with Nora's family. Her father deep-fried a turkey and nearly set the garage on fire, and her nephews taught me a card game I never fully understood. Her mother told embarrassing stories about Nora as a kid. It was loud and warm, and no one asked me to make myself smaller to keep the peace. Christmas came. No call from Mom, no card, nothing. I sent them a card anyway, just a simple one with a photo of Nora and me on a hike, both of us windburned and grinning. Inside I wrote, "Merry Christmas. We're happy. We hope you are too. Mom called on New Year's Eve. Thank you for the card. You're welcome. This doesn't fix everything. I know. You look well. I am. Julian's doing better. He got a job at a warehouse. He's in therapy twice a week. That's good. He asks about you sometimes. Wonders how you're doing." "Mom, I know. I'm not supposed to pass messages. I just thought you'd want to know." "I don't." Silence. Then, "I miss you." I felt something crack open in my chest. "I miss you too. Can we get lunch, just us?" I met her at a diner near her house. She looked older, tired. She hugged me too long. "I'm sorry," she said when we sat down, "for everything, for making excuses for Julian, for asking you to shrink your own happiness, for handing him your key, for not protecting you the way I should have." I didn't know what to say. I'd imagined this conversation 1,000 times, and in every version I had the perfect response, sharp and final and rehearsed. But sitting across from my mother, seeing the regret in her eyes, I couldn't remember a single line of it. "Why?" I asked instead. "Why was it always him?" Mom stirred her coffee. "Because he demanded it. From the day he was born, he demanded attention, affection, everything. And if he didn't get it, he'd scream until he did. You were different. You were quiet, self-sufficient. You didn't need me the way he did." "I did need you. I know." Her voice broke. "I know you did, and I failed you." I told myself I was being fair, giving each son what he needed. But really, I was just taking the easy road. It was simpler to give Julian what he wanted than to deal with his tantrums, and you never complained. So I told myself you were fine. I wasn't fine. I was invisible. You were never invisible to me. I just got so used to you being strong that I forgot you needed anything at all. We talked for 2 hours. She told me about her own childhood, about being the middle child who kept the peace between louder siblings, about how she'd seen herself in me, the steady one, the responsible one, about how she'd unknowingly rebuilt the same dynamic with her own kids. "Your father and I are in counseling," she said. "We're trying to understand our part in all of this. He's having a harder time with it than I am. He still thinks if everyone would just forgive and forget, we could go back to how things were. There is no how things were. There never was. I'm starting to see that." We finished our coffee. She walked me to my car. "Can we do this again?" she asked. "Lunch? Maybe. I'll take maybe." I drove home and told Nora everything. She listened without interrupting. "Do you believe her?" she asked when I finished. "I don't know. Part of me wants to. Part of me is waiting for her to defend Julian again, to ask me to give him one more chance." "What does your gut say?" I thought about it. "That she means it. But meaning it isn't the same as changing." "No," she said. "It isn't." 3 months later, Mom invited me to lunch again. This time she brought photo albums, pictures from my childhood I'd never seen. Me at my high school graduation, beaming. Me holding a science fair trophy. Me building a birdhouse with my grandfather. "I found these in the attic," she said. I'd forgotten about them, but going through them, I noticed something. I have hundreds of photos of Julian. At every game, every birthday, every award, and only a handful of you because I was always behind the camera at his events and always just watching at yours. Never documenting, never celebrating the same way. She slid a photo across the table. Me at 8 years old, gap-toothed and grinning, holding up a certificate for perfect attendance. "Do you remember this?" she asked. "No. You were so proud. You worked so hard for it, never missed a day, even sick. You wanted to show me the second you got home, but Julian was melting down because he didn't make the travel team. I told you we'd celebrate your award later. We never did." I stared at the photo, at my younger self's hopeful little smile. "I'm giving these to you," Mom said, "because you deserve proof that you mattered, even if I didn't show it the way I should have." I took the albums home and spent an evening going through them. Nora sat beside me, pointing at pictures. "Look how cute you were. Is that your science project? You've always had that same smile." That night, I called Mom. "Thank you for the photos. photos. You're welcome, sweetheart. This doesn't fix everything. I know, but it's a start. That's all I'm asking for. Slowly, carefully, we rebuilt something. Not the relationship we'd had before, but something new. Something built on honesty instead of avoidance. We had lunch once a month. She never mentioned Julian unless I asked, and I rarely asked. Dad was harder. He came to one lunch and sat in stiff silence while Mom and I talked about my work. When I mentioned Nora, his jaw tightened. How's Nora? Mom asked, shooting Dad a warning look. She's great. Just got promoted to director of operations. That's wonderful. Dad finally spoke. Must be nice having a wife with a big job while your brother stacks boxes for minimum wage. Dad? What? It's true. He's living in a studio, can barely make rent. Meanwhile, you've got the house, the career, the perfect little life. He broke into my home. He tried to steal my wife. He destroyed our wedding photos. He violated a restraining order twice. And you made sure he paid for it. The legal system made sure he paid for it. I just refused to be a victim anymore. Dad stood up. I can't do this. I can't sit here and pretend everything's fine when one son won't even help his own brother. He left. Mom stayed. I'm sorry, she said. Don't apologize for him. He's struggling. He thinks being a good father means protecting both sons equally, even when one son is objectively in the wrong. That's not protection. That's enabling. I know. I didn't see Dad again for a year. Then Nora and I found out she was pregnant. Mom answered the phone crying happy tears. I could hear Dad in the background asking what was wrong. Nothing's wrong, Mom said. We're going to be grandparents. The phone went quiet. Then Dad's voice. Let me talk to him. I waited. Congratulations, he said stiffly. Thank you. When's she due? October. Another pause. Your mother wants to throw a shower. That'd be nice. Julian won't be invited. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. No, he won't. He's going to be hurt. He'll survive. He hung up, but 2 weeks later, a package arrived. A wooden rocking chair, hand-carved, beautiful. The card said, for the baby. Love, Dad. I sat in it that night, rocking slowly, crying for reasons I couldn't fully explain. Mom threw the shower at her house. Dad was there, awkward but present. He gave me a hug that lasted 3 seconds longer than usual. You're going to be a great father, he said. Thanks, Dad. The shower was small. Nora's family, my friends from work, Tessa and her husband, my aunt who'd always been kind to me. No one mentioned Julian. No one asked why half the family was missing. We ate cake and opened tiny clothes and celebrated the life coming. On my way out, Mom pulled me aside. Julian called this morning. He saw the shower on my calendar. He wanted to know if he could come. My stomach clenched. What did you tell him? I said no, that this was your day, and he'd forfeited the right to be part of these moments. How'd he take it? He cried, said I was choosing you over him, that I was a terrible mother, that he'd never forgive me. I'm sorry. Don't be. I should have said no to him a long time ago. Would have saved us all a lot of pain. Our daughter was born on October 15th, 7 pounds, 3 ounces, perfect. We named her Iris, after Nora's grandmother. Mom and Dad came to the hospital. Dad held Iris, tears running down his face. She's beautiful, he whispered, just like her father, Mom said, smiling at me. For the first time in my life, I believed her. We took Iris home. Nora's parents came to visit, hauling casseroles and impossible amounts of baby clothes. My parents came too, less often but consistently. Mom taught me how to swaddle. Dad installed the car seat with the focus of a surgeon. Life found a rhythm, sleepless nights, endless laundry, the strange, enormous joy of a first smile. Nora was an incredible mother, and I was a father who finally understood what it meant to be chosen without conditions. We were exhausted and happy and building our family exactly the way we wanted. Then Iris turned 6 months old. I was at the grocery store with her strapped to my chest when I saw Julian. He was at the other end of the aisle staring at us. He looked different, thinner. His hair was shorter, going gray at the temples. He looked worn down. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he started walking toward us. My first instinct was to leave. The restraining order had expired 2 months earlier, so legally he could approach me, but every cell in my body screamed danger. I stood my ground, one hand over Iris's back. He stopped a few feet away. She's beautiful, Julian said, looking at her. Thank you. She's got your eyes. What do you want, Julian? I'm not here to cause problems. I just wanted to see my niece. She's not your niece. You gave up that right when you broke into my home. That was years ago. People change. Do they? His jaw tightened. I've been in therapy. Real therapy, not the court-ordered kind. I'm working on myself. Good. Work on yourself somewhere far away from me and my family. I'm trying to apologize. I don't want your apology. You won't even give me a chance. You've had 100 chances. You wasted everyone. He looked at Iris again, his face softening. Mom and Dad told me about her, showed me pictures. I'm an uncle. No, you're a stranger who shares my DNA. That's cold. That's honest. A store employee drifted over, sensing the tension. Everything okay here? Fine, I said. I'm just leaving. I pushed the cart past him. He didn't follow, but as I reached the end of the aisle, he called out, I'm sorry for all of it. I know you don't believe me, but I am. I didn't turn around. I just kept walking. Loaded the groceries, buckled Iris into her seat, drove home with shaking hands. Nora was in the garage when I pulled up. She took one look at my face and knew. What happened? Julian, at the store. Her expression darkened. Did he threaten you? No, he apologized. Do you believe him? I thought about his face, the exhaustion in it, the years that had passed since we last spoke. I don't know, I said honestly. Part of me wants to. The part that still remembers being kids, sharing a room, staying up late, whispering in the dark. But the rest of me remembers remembers everything that came after. You don't owe him forgiveness. I know. That night, I called Mom. Julian approached me today. I know. He called me right after. He was crying. Did he say what happened? That he tried to apologize and you shut him down? That you wouldn't even look at him? That's not exactly what happened. I figured. That's Julian's version. The victim narrative. So you don't believe him? Mom sighed. I want to. God, I want to believe he's changed. That the therapy's working. That he's actually sorry. But I've been through this cycle before. The apology, the promises, the little improvement, then something happens and we're right back where we started. So what do I do? Whatever feels right for you. You don't owe him anything. Not forgiveness, not a relationship, not even a hello. You built a good life without him. You're allowed to keep it that way. I thought about that. The life Nora and I had made, the house, the baby, the quiet. Did I really want to risk it by letting Julian back in? A month later, Julian sent a letter. A real one, handwritten, 6 pages long. He wrote about his therapy, about realizing he'd spent his whole life building his worth on being better than me, about how when I finally succeeded in ways he couldn't, it shattered his entire sense of who he was, about the jealousy that had eaten him alive and poisoned every relationship he'd ever had. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, he wrote. I know I've burned every bridge, wrecked every chance, but I need you to know that I see it now. I see what I did to you, the jokes, the comparisons, the constant little cuts. I see how Mom and Dad let me treat you like you were less than a person, and I'm so sorry. The letter went on. He wrote about Camille, how she'd used his desperation to talk him into helping her steal from us, how he'd been so blinded by the need to beat me that he couldn't see she was a con artist, how he'd hit bottom in a jail cell alone, and finally understood he'd blown up his whole life for nothing. I don't expect you to write back, he ended. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed you to know that I see it now. And if I could take it all back, if I could go back to being kids and do it differently, I would. I'd be the brother you deserved, the one who cheered for you instead of resenting you, the one who had your back instead of putting a knife in it. I read the letter 3 times, then showed it to Nora. What do you think? I asked. I think it sounds genuine, but I also think he sounded genuine before. Mom said the same thing. Do you want to forgive him? Did I? I thought about it, about the years of pain, the wedding he tried to ruin, the home he violated, the nights I'd spent wondering why my own brother hated me. But I also thought about the brother I'd had before the jealousy swallowed him whole, the one who taught me to ride a bike in the church parking lot, the one who let me crawl into his bed during thunderstorms, the one who existed before the world decided we had to be rivals, before comparison became competition. I don't know, I said, but I think I might want to try. I wrote back, 1 page, simple. I got your letter. I appreciate your honesty. I'm not ready for a relationship, but I'm willing to consider one down the road. If you're serious about changing, prove it with actions, not words. Stay in therapy. Build a life you're proud of without measuring it against mine, and maybe someday we can have a conversation. He wrote back immediately. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. I'll prove it. I promise. A year passed, then another. I'd see Julian now and then at family events I went to without Nora, Christmas morning, Easter, Mom's birthday. We'd nod at each other, trade a few careful pleasantries, nothing more. But I noticed changes. He didn't dominate every conversation anymore, didn't brag, didn't cut people down to feel tall. When Dad started to compare us at one dinner, Julian cut him off. Don't, he said. We're not in a contest. We never should have been. Dad looked stunned. Mom smiled into her wine glass. Iris turned too. We threw a party at our house. I didn't invite Julian, but he sent a gift anyway. A beautiful wooden toy box with her name carved into the lid. The card said, "For your daughter. May she never once doubt she's loved." I cried when I read it. 3 years after the grocery store, Julian called me. I know we're not there yet, he said, but I wanted to tell you something. I'm engaged. Congratulations. Her name's Lena. She's a teacher. She knows everything about my past, about what I did to you, all of it. She's the one who's been pushing me to keep making amends, to keep being better. That's good. I'd like you to meet her. No pressure. Just coffee if you're comfortable. I thought about all the years that had passed, about the work he'd clearly put in, about the fact that he was asking, not demanding. Okay, I said. Coffee. We met at a neutral spot, a cafe halfway between our houses. Nora came with me. Julian brought Lena. She was nothing like Camille or any of the girls he'd chased before. She was calm, thoughtful, in a cardigan and glasses, and she shook Nora's hand like she meant it and didn't try to run the conversation. Julian was nervous. I could see his hand shaking as he stirred his coffee. Thank you for coming, he said. I know this is weird. It is, I agreed. We talked for an hour about nothing important. The weather, Iris, Lena's students, Julian's new job managing a hardware store. It was stiff and awkward, and nothing like what we'd had as kids, but it was something. As we were leaving, Julian pulled me aside. I want you to know, I'm not asking to be best friends. I'm not asking you to forget what I did. I just want the chance to prove I'm not that person anymore. Okay, I said. Over the next year, we built something fragile. Coffee every few months, a text or two on holidays. When Julian got married, he didn't invite me to the ceremony. Instead, he sent a photo afterward with a note. I didn't want to put pressure on you to come, but I wanted you to know I thought about you today, about how you found a good one. And somehow, finally, so did I. Thank you for showing me what that looks like. Iris turned 4. I invited Julian to her party. He came with Lena, brought a thoughtful gift, stayed exactly an hour. He got down on the floor and played with Iris. Gentle, patient, never overstepping. When they left, Iris asked, "Who was that man?" "That's Julian," I said. "He's my brother." "I didn't know you had a brother." "It's complicated." Nora's hand found mine. Most family things are. Mom and Dad were easier now too. They'd stopped trying to force a reconciliation, stopped making excuses for the past. They went to counseling together and actually talked about the part they'd played in poisoning things between their sons. "We failed you both," Dad said at one especially honest dinner. "We turned you into competitors instead of brothers. We rewarded Julian's worst behavior with attention and took your good behavior for granted." "Yes," I said simply. "I can't take it back, but I can stop repeating it." And he did. When Iris did something clever, he praised her without comparing her to anyone. When I shared good news about work, he was happy for me without worrying how it might make Julian feel. He learned slowly to see us as two separate people with two separate lives instead of two sides of the same competition. Julian and Lena got pregnant. He called to tell me, his voice careful. "I wanted you to hear it from me. We're due in March. Congratulations. That's wonderful. I've been thinking a lot about becoming a father, about how we were raised. I don't want to pass any of that on." Neither did I. "How do you do it? How do you make sure you're not doing to Iris what was done to us?" We talked for 2 hours about breaking cycles, about therapy, about catching yourself and questioning your own instincts every single day. It was the most honest conversation we'd had since we were kids. When Julian's son was born, I sent flowers to the hospital. When they brought him home, I dropped off dinner. Small things, but they mattered. Iris turned 6. By then, she'd met Julian a handful of times. They had a careful, cordial thing, distant but not cold. She called him Uncle Julian, a title I never suggested to her. At her birthday party that year, Julian and I ended up alone in the kitchen, refilling drink pitchers. "She's amazing," Julian said, watching Iris through the doorway. "You're a great dad." "Thank you. I mean it. I see how she is with you and Nora. Confident, secure. She knows she's loved. That's the whole goal." Julian set the pitcher down. "I'm sorry I never said this the right way. Not in letters or therapy or any of it. I'm sorry I tried to destroy your happiness. I'm sorry I made your childhood miserable. I'm sorry I wasted so many years hating you instead of loving you." I looked at my brother, at the man he'd become, not the boy I grew up with, not the man who tore my home apart, someone in between, someone trying. "I forgive you," I said. He started crying. "You don't have to say that. I know, but I mean it. I forgive you for what you did. That doesn't mean I forget it. It doesn't mean we go back to how things were. It means I'm putting down the anger, the resentment, the need to punish you for the rest of our lives." He hugged me. I let him. It felt strange and familiar all at once. When we pulled apart, he said, "Thank you for giving me a chance I didn't earn." "We're family," I said. "Complicated, messy, broken in places, but still family." Nora found us a few minutes later, took in Julian's wet face and my damp eyes. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Everything's okay." That night, after the party, after Iris was asleep, Nora and I sat out on the back porch under a sky full of stars. "I'm proud of you," she said. "For what?" "For being brave enough to forgive him, to let him back in, even a little. That takes real strength, or stupidity." "No, strength. You could have carried that anger forever. Nobody would have blamed you, but you chose something else." I thought about all the years, the betrayal and the slow, painful healing, about Julian's road from the man who trashed my apartment to the man crying in my kitchen. "People can change," I said. "Not everyone, not always, but sometimes." "Do you think he really has?" "I think he's trying. That's all I can ask for." My brother said no one would ever date me. He cried when I got engaged before him. He tried to burn down my marriage, my home, my happiness, and instead he burned down his own life doing it. But I didn't beat him with revenge, and I didn't beat him with punishment. I beat him by building a life so full of love that his hatred couldn't reach it. And then, when he finally learned how to love too, I let him stand at the edge of it. It's not the brother I dreamed of having, but it's the one I've got. And after everything we survived to get here, that feels like its own kind of miracle.